everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today on Bones Collector, we're continuing our series where Lori and I are playing our way through our board gaming library. The reason why we're doing this, of course, is to show you up close and personal the mechanics and what the game looks like physically on the table. In the top 10 videos and top 100 videos that we do, we only talk about each game in a few brief sentences, and it's very difficult for the viewer to understand what that game is about. So we're going to play a couple of games, 2 or 3 games each week, and make a video about it and pass it on to you, and I hope you enjoy them. Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, where today Lori and I just got done playing Via Nebula 3 times in a row, and we've played Via Nebula a lot. This is the way our relationship with this game has gone. We acquired this game, I think we bought it brand new, or maybe we bought it used, I can't remember, but we played the game and thought, well, maybe it's a little too light for us the first time we played it, and we put it away and said, well, we'll sell it. And then we decided to sell it, and then we played it again, and I said, don't sell this game yet. And so we took it off the sell list, and we played it again, and I said, hey, I want to keep this game for a while. And then we played it again and again, and I said, we're just keeping this game. I'm not going to sell it, and I like it. It's a wonderful, thinky puzzle you can get done in 30 to 45 minutes. I mean, if you don't know the game, it takes you 45. If you do know the game, it's probably 30, 35 minute game. But it's a wonderful, crunchy little Euro. I just love this game. Let's talk about the production of the game to start right off. Box is nothing to write home about. It's kind of thin. It's not too bad though, not too bad. But it has a beautiful insert in it, which I want to brag about for them. It's a 2 to 4 player game. This is an action point system, network and route building, pick up and deliver game, and the winning condition is the most points. But this is the insert that comes with the game, and it has a place for each one of your building types, and there's all 4 different kinds of buildings. It has a place for your craftsmen, you have 3 craftsmen, and a place for your building site tiles. It has a place here for the cards, and then each one of these holes is a different shape for depending on the resource that's going to be in here. So this is shaped like a brick, this is shaped like wood, stone, shaped like a pig, and wheat. So I really like that. And then all the tokens that you're going to use in the game to populate the board go in this slot right here. So a wonderful insert. I really like that. That's a nice insert, and it really aids you when you're playing the game. Okay, and the only thing I have to complain about this game, I'm going to do that right off the top here, I just don't like the graphic design of the box lid here. This is taking place in a foggy zone, you know, there's foggy woods, forests, petrified forests, and those kinds of things. And so the artist kind of put fog on the letters of the name of the game, so it looks like it's been sitting out in the sun, it's fading. It doesn't have an appealing look to this game, this box lid. And if this had a different graphic design on this box lid, I'm telling you what, it would do wonders for the sales of this game. I really dislike this. The art is okay. I mean, this kind of fantasy world and these fantasy people, I'm okay with that. But the foggy stuff on the cover and on the face of the rule book, I just don't like it at all. I think it hurt the sale of this game. But yeah, that's the only thing I'm going to complain about. Then your player boards are cardboard, like they are in a lot of other games. So they're kind of that flimsy cardboard, which doesn't hurt the gameplay whatsoever. And it has everything on your player board that you need to know, and I'll talk about that in a second. The tiles are nice and thick enough, the meadow tiles. These exploitation tiles are nice and thick. The resources themselves are wood, the buildings are wood. The cards are very nice, and we sleeved them after I finally figured out this is a wonderful game and I'm keeping it. Let me see if this cardstock is linen. I'm going to check it out. Yeah, linen cardstock. Wow, that's pretty nice. So it's a contract fulfillment thing too going on. And on your player board, it's got a space here, and this tells you every action that's available to take. You can place a craftsman to get an exploitation tile off the board and populate it with some resources. You can lay down a building site tile. You can lay down one of these meadow tiles because you're building a path. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And for 2 actions, you can put one of your meadow tiles over top of a petrified forest, and you have to do that eventually because in order to build some of the routes you're going to need to get resources to your building sites, you're going to have to do that. And that costs 2 actions. And it says here right on your board, has 2 little clocks underneath there so that you know that takes 2 actions. Then you can move a resource to a building site, and you can build on a building site. And then right here on the top of the actions here, it tells you can choose two, and you can choose the same action twice. Okay, you can choose two different actions or the same action twice on your turn. That's all there is to it. Your metal tiles will be here on these spaces on your board, and once you empty these, you get 2 points at the end of the game for every explorer that you expose. So every explorer you expose, you get 2 points. Once in a while you get to the last guy and get him emptied, but man, you got to plan on it and really work that into your strategy. And then down here in the left hand corner on your guild is where you put any resources you have left. At the end of the game, when the last person builds their 5th building, the game ends, but everybody else gets one more turn. And whatever resources you can't remove from your craftsman, which I had 4. So I had 2 stone on this craftsman, and I had 2 wheat on this craftsman. And then if you had a building site on the board that had resources on it, those come off also, and they all go right here. That's the thing to think about when you're in this game, is you don't want those resources left over because they're -1 point. It says so right on your board, -1 point at the end of the game. And then this is a place for all of your craftsmen. This is a place for your building site tiles, which would go right here. These are my building site tiles. And then 5 spaces for the buildings that you have in your player color. And all the buildings are different. They're different shapes and different colors. And so it's a very pretty game. And this game is deceptively deep. You are going to, I'm telling you, sit here and just enjoy the thinky puzzle of trying to build a route to move those resources to your building site so you can build. And then on top of that, you're also wanting to weave into your strategy these contracts that you want to complete, because that's what you're doing. You're moving these resources to a building site and looking at these contracts up here. Plus you have 2 private contracts in your hand, and so you're thinking about those and these, and there's a power, it's a little special benefit at the bottom of each one of these, and you're trying to weave that into your strategy also. For instance, one of the last contracts that I fulfilled allowed me to remove one of my resources from the board, and I did that, and it saved me from getting a minus point in my guild at the end of the game. But these 4 had to come off the board where I have craftsmen sitting on them, and they had to go here, and I was -4 at the end of the game. So you're trying to avoid that, and you're trying to not get as many of these exploitation tokens, only the ones you need, but there's points on them also. So it's just a juggling act. How many do I need? You know, for every one of them that you take off the board and place your craftsman, you get points for. Some of them are 2 points, some of them are 1 point. But that's the end of the game. You're going to add those up, and those are points in your favor. But you're trying not to do it to the point where you're going to have resources left over with your craftsman sitting on that space. So that is the juggling act in this game. At the end of the game, the first player to build 5 buildings takes this end of game card and gets a bonus of 2 points. And more often than not, that 2 points will win you the game, because this game is very, very close when you play it. And we've played it so many times. We've played this game a lot. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful little Euro. I mean, it's just a blast. We really, really enjoy this game. And you just, I don't know, even when it came out, people weren't talking about Via Nebula. It just never got any kind of buzz, and it just never, I never hear people even mention it in their top 100s or any kind of lists that they make. But man, this is a very, very nice game by Martin Wallace. It's the best game I've ever played by Martin Wallace. The one that is the most fun, let's put it that way. If I bring Brass Birmingham into my house, it just will never see the table. So I don't. Or Brass Lancashire. I'm just not going to play those games. They're too long, and there's too much involved. I love this, and I've compared this game to things like Chai, Turia, Imhotep, which is going to be the other part of this video. Those type of light, thinky Euros that have a nice little puzzle, and those are the types of games that we really, really like. And I'm going to tell you what, as you get older and into your 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, these are the types of games that you're going to want in your house, so that you can bring them out, set them up and play them and have a fun time and a good thinky puzzle in 30 to 45 minutes. Get it put back in the box, and hey, you're off to dinner. You're off to dinner with your friends, or you're going to go out and mow the grass. You don't have to spend the whole day looking at a game that's going to take you 3 hours or plus that, 3+ hours. And so That's why we hang on to these types of games. And I just want to be able to tell you about it because I am excited about it when I play Via Nebula. Laura and I have a good time playing this game. And so I'm very excited when I get done playing it. And I'm very happy that we decided over time to keep this game in our library. And it is in my top 100 games of all time. I love Via Nebula. And I'm not going to say that it's one of the best designed games ever, but it does hit a certain spot where it's going to see the table quite often out of your library. Then also there is another side to this board that's a little easier. This is the harder side. It's not that much harder, but it's got less ruins on it, which is where you place your building sites. And on the other side there's 12, on this side there's 10, so just a few less. And then there's sites on the board itself, these forbidden spaces where you can't place any kind of tile. These like purple ones, and then these other ones got like an animal. This looks like some kind of creature on it. Yeah, they got creatures of different types on them. The board is very pretty. I enjoy it. This game is lovely to play. I wanted to tell you about it. It's such a fun time to have a game like this in your library because you just feel like playing it a lot. It's a good puzzle. It makes you think, and it's not too much trouble that you can't play the game and talk to the person you're playing the game with. You're not thinking that hard to where you're perspiring and you can't even have any conversation. So this is really a wonderful game that I wanted to tell you about, and that's Via Nebula. Again, it came out in 2016. It's been in my library since 2016 and have played it and played it and played it, and I'm going to keep this game. I don't know, I don't see ever having the feeling that I want to get rid of this game. It's just a fun time every time we get it out. I look forward to it, and when Lori says, hey, let's play Via Nebula, I'm always happy to do so. So I hope you get a chance to play it. If you haven't played it, I'm sure a lot of you have not played this. And another thing about this game, I see it all the time for $15 on the flea market. If you go to your local convention, you can pick this up at a flea market for 15, 20 bucks, and it's worth it. I think Cool Stuff ran a sale on this just a little while ago. You can't go wrong with a game like this. It is a lot of fun. I've only played it 2-player. I will say that. We've only played it 2-player. That's all we ever play it, and we enjoy it. And that's Via Nebula. And I'll see you next time on Bones Collector. I love every one of you. Bye-bye. Hey, you guys, one more thing I forgot to tell you, and this is very important. When you're choosing these actions, you only get to choose 2 of them, but they're kind of thought-provoking. So a lot of times, if you don't mark your action, you get a couple of markers in our player color. We just happen to have them. Well, I used the white, and there's a couple of white discs that I'm having in my hand. Then Lori used blue, and we had a couple of blue discs that she was using. So that when you take an action, you lay that marker on your board to remind yourself actually that you've done that action. And then when you take your second action, because you only get 2 actions, you mark it with your second marker. Because I don't know how many times early when we played this game, we got lost and forgot what actions we had taken and whether we had taken even 2 actions. So get a couple of markers that you can use to keep track of your 2 actions that you're taking. You'll be glad you did because it just gets confusing, and even some of the cards give you an extra action, so you'll be confused. Well, did I take 2 actions already? Or did I take 1 and then I did that action on the card? Those kinds of things come into play. So just wanted to remind you that before I signed off this video. Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, and today Lori and I just got done playing Imhotep. And Imhotep came out in 2016. The designer is Phil Walker Harding. It's for 2 to 4 players, and it has some area majority endgame bonuses, has a modular board, has some set collection going on, and some worker placement. Oops, I just knocked off that block. I knocked my block off. And the winning condition is the most points. Now, Phil Walker Harding has designed some games that we really enjoyed. We had Cacao for a while. We loved that game, and Gizmos was a lot of fun, and Gingerbread House, and what was it? Barron Park. So he's a good board game designer, and he has a good reputation for having successful games, and they sell pretty good. Now, they're on the lighter side of gaming, which is okay. I mean, because there's lots of people, including us, that like games like that once in a while. So this is a game that I could suggest to anybody go out and buy. They could pick it up and read the rule book and play the game. And I love games like that. I really do. This game in particular has, let's see, you open the rule book and it's got an explanation of what comes in the box. It has how to set the game up, and it has 2 pages of actual rules for the game. 2 pages in large font, So I really enjoy that. And then it has a glossary of explanations for the B side of these tiles and the A side of the tiles, and it has a glossary of explanations for all the market cards that come with the game. And I'll tell you how the game is played in a second, but Imhotep was the most famous builder in ancient Egypt. He supposedly built the first pyramid, so that's who Imhotep is. I didn't know anything about that, but it's in the book, and I thought that was interesting. But Phil Walker Harding designs games that, and I was reading about him a little bit, that brings age groups together so that people can get together and play a board game no matter what their age, for families and that kind of thing. But in this game, you're simply going to have a storage sled that's going to be in front of you and has 5 spaces on it. And that's all the building blocks you're allowed to have. The game comes with 120 of these building blocks for 4 different player colors. And then you have round cards. So you have ship cards for each game. So the game is played over 6 rounds for all player counts. And you simply turn one of these cards over and it's going to have a picture of the size of ships that you're going to be using that round. And in this particular instance, it's a 3, 2, 2, and a 1. And those are the size ships you're going to be using to ship these blocks over to these sites, these tiles. And each ship has not only spaces for a building block, but also has a minimum requirement before you can place that ship into one of these ports. And so you have to pay attention to that also. So you have these blocks on your sled. You're going to take turns putting them on these ships like this. This only has 1 space on it, so that is ready to ship. Now that doesn't mean because I put the block on there that I want to necessarily move that ship. Maybe I want to wait. And there's a certain amount of strategy to this, because the person that ships the last ship will go last the next round. So you want to be able to go first, so you want to kind of sandbag a little bit and let somebody else move that last ship if you can. And you're kind of working your actions like that. So you have a choice of 3 actions. You can place a block on one of these ships, you can move the ship to one of these ports, or you can play one of the market cards that you've acquired, these blue market cards, and they give you a special benefit or a special action actually. And when you play that, that's your turn. So if you have one of those, you can play that for your turn. So those are 3 things that you can do. And that's very simple and very streamlined, and I like that because there's a lot more to it than that. So you're trying to decide which one of these ports that you want to sail one of these ships to, and you don't have to wait until they're full. Like I say, there's a minimum requirement. So this ship here has 3 spaces on it, and it has a minimum requirement of 2 blocks. So once 2 blocks get on there, you can actually move that on your turn to one of these ports. Now you may want to do that ahead of your opponent. In other words, even if your opponent had, let's say, 2 blocks on this ship, and the minimum requirement is 2, and you're thinking, well, normally that person would want to pick where that ship goes. That's true, but on your turn, you may want to pick where that ship goes. In other words, if you can take this ship and put it down on this port here where the obelisk is, because you know they can't score anything. If they had no blocks down here, you could take these 2 blocks, put them in the obelisk, they get nothing. And that's the whole object of this game, is to try to minimize your opponent's points and maximize yours. So that's how this game works, and the things that you have to think about when you're going to one of these ports. And here's some of the things you can do in this game. This is all B sides of the tiles. We played the A side first a couple of times, and then we played this B side, and then you can mix and match. You can have like, because you might like some of the A sides better. I think Lori liked a couple of them better than the B sides, so we would probably play with a couple of A sides and a couple of B sides and mix things up, and that variability keeps this game kind of fresh, and I really, really like that. So there's different things you can do. You can build pyramids, which allow you, depending on where you place these blocks, to get points and benefits and or building blocks. You can place I think one benefit on here is to place a block on one of these ships. And then you can go to this tile here. This is a modular board. This tile here is the temple, and you get points and benefits for everything that's visible from above. So in other words, I have 3 blocks that are visible from above here. Lori only has 1, so I would get the benefits for that particular space for with my 3 blocks, and she would get the benefit of one of the spaces with her block. So that's the way that works. And in the burial chamber here, you get points for who has the most in each row of this burial chamber. And you have to place them in order. It has arrows above them, so you have to fill them up from the top down, left to right, top to bottom. And that gets kind of tricky because you're trying to plan on when you see these blocks on a ship, when you want to get that ship over here. It's a timing mechanism. And then this obelisk thing, the A side is the person with the tallest obelisk gets 10 points, and the second place player gets 1 point. So you're fighting pretty hard for the tallest obelisk on the A side. On this side, whenever you get 3 stones in this obelisk of your player color, you move it to the next available space, and each one of these spaces has a point total on them, and you get those points. One of the actions you can do also, I messed that up, didn't I? One of the actions you can do is to take blocks from the quarry. So I didn't mention that. Your actions consist of placing building blocks on a ship, sailing a ship, playing a card from the market, or grabbing stones from the quarry to fill up your supply sled. And there's only 5 spaces on here, so to be as efficient as possible, you want to make sure you have 3 spaces available because you get 3 stones from the quarry. And there's times when it might be advantageous to take stones from the quarry when you don't really need 3. And the time to do that would be maybe at the end of the round when there's only 1 ship left and you don't want to sail it because you want to go first the next round. So instead of sailing that ship, you say, well, I'll take stones from the quarry, and you'll take, maybe you've already got 4, and you'll take that 1 stone from the quarry to fill up your supply sled. And then if they have their supply sled full of building stones, if you've noticed that, and they can't do that action, then they would either have to play a market card or sail that last ship if it's full. If this ship was full, they'd have to sail that. So those are the type of things you're thinking about, and you're trying to get that timing down on when to sail those ships to these different ports to take these different actions. And it's light fare, but it's a lot of fun. It's a nice puzzle to solve. And again, you can keep it fresh by mixing and matching the sides of these tiles in Imhotep. And I really, really like this game. We got this the other day. They had it marked down like 22 bucks on Amazon. And I had been curious about it for a number of reasons. First of all, I knew it was very popular. I see it on people's shelves all the time. And then also because it was Phil Walker Harding, and I've liked his game designs in the past. They're not real complex affairs where you're going to have to read a 40-page rule book or have a 20 to 30 minute setup time on the game. It's nothing like that. His games are light, and there's times when you appreciate that. And we're pairing this game up with Via Nebula, which is another light game from a great designer, Martin Wallace. And you know, I mean, there's times when you like playing games like this. We played this twice in 60 minutes, and I like that at times. And I really enjoyed the 2 times we just played it 3 times, but I enjoyed every time we played it. And I knew when I played it at the convention, we played it for the first time at the last convention we went to, and I knew right away. I told her at the convention, I said, oh, we're going to pick that up as soon as, you know, it's convenient. You know, when you see it on sale or something like that, go ahead and pick this up. There's not a lot of components to it. It's not some big table hog, but the puzzle is very nice. And it's a lot of fun, and that's the most important thing when you're playing a board game. I would love to be able to say that all games are this fun, but they are not. I've played a lot of big, heavy games that are not this much fun. This is a fun game, and it's a pleasure to tell you about it. If you want a game like this, or if you're a gamer that wants to play a game in 30 to 40 minutes, but have a nice, thinky puzzle, this is a fantastic option for you. And I can heartily recommend this game, and with confidence I can recommend this game to anybody that doesn't board game. If you happen to be watching this video and you're thinking, well, gee, I don't play a lot of board games. Last time I played a board game was 1984. You know, I played a couple of games of Yahtzee or something. Hey, this is a game you can buy, read the rule book, and figure out how to play it, and have a lot of fun playing it for the entire time that you own this game. If you're one of those gamers, and there's people like this all over the globe, you might play a board game twice a month. You know, that's it. Just twice a month. Or maybe not even that often. Maybe you just want to have 5 board games, and every once in a while you get a game out and play it with your family or a friend or something once every 2 months or whatever. This is a great option for you. And I love these kinds of board games for that application. And this is a good one by Phil Walker Harding. And again, it's going to stay in our library because we like it. You know, today I got a lot of things to do, and we got 3 plays in, and I like that. You know, in setup time, you can play this game 3 times, put the game away, and you're done in an hour and a half. I mean, and that's pretty terrific, folks. There's a lot to be said for that. And so we're going to keep this game for days like that when we want to play a board game, but we just have other things to do, just like you guys, because you guys are busy people, you're smart people because you're watching this channel. So you've got other things to do. And this is a game that would allow you to be able to do that and fit this into your lifestyle. So yeah, that is Imhotep. And I really, really like it. The box itself, you know, it's okay. Again, the chunky wooden blocks are nice. These tiles are fine that you have. These 2-sided tiles that you have. The shipped tiles are nice. The cards we sleeved because they're black bordered. And at the convention when we played this game, we noticed the cards were wearing because they were showing up white on the edges of the cards because of the black borders. So we sleeved them immediately. And I tell you what, folks, I'm going to keep this game. I like it. By Phil Walker Harding, Imhotep, Builder of Egypt, hot dog. Hey, it got the Parents Award, Parents Choice Gold Award. Must mean something to somebody, eh? All right, see you next time. Okay, everybody, that was a couple of games out of our library that we wanted to share with you. We're doing this video series to show you a little more in depth about the games that we have in our library and what it's like to play them so that you can take a look at them physically, what they look like on the table. And thank you for those comments, and please keep them coming. We'll try to get back to you as often as we possibly can. I love every one of you guys. And always remember to keep on board gaming. It's the best hobby on the planet. Bye-bye.